Welcome back to the Competitor Talk. This is your host, Kyle Dangler. This podcast is presented by Loud Creative Works, and today we're very excited to have on Jordan Belfi, who is an American actor. He's been in many films and TV shows, including Entourage, in which he plays Adam Davies. He's also been in Hawaii Five-0, Chicago Fire, stars in the movie American Curious, which came out last year, and he's had a recurring role on All American, which is one of the new drama series on CW, and also he's been in movies in the past, including Drake and Josh Go Hollywood, and he's been in a lot of different other films also. He's had a lot of different roles, short stints on multiple shows, like The Mentalist, he played Wes Atwood, and then he played in a couple other shows as well. In Gilmore Girls, he was Jordan Chase. American Dreams, he was Stephen Patterson, along with being in Grey's Anatomy as Nick for 2 episodes in season 8 in 2012. So he's been in a lot of different movies and TV shows, and one of the movies he was also in was Snow Bride, which is a Hallmark Channel TV movie, in which he played Benjamin Tannehill. So he's been in a lot of different films and a lot of different TV shows. So we're going to be talking to him now about his roles so far, how he got into acting, was it a passion of his for a while growing up, specifically in LA also, and then kind of going into how he got into Entourage, which is probably what he's best known for and what he's looking forward to in the future with his acting career, along with any other hobbies and, kind of careers he might take up in the future. So here we go. Jordan?
Hello?
Hey, how are you, Jordan?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate, taking a little bit of your time just to, get started. So you ready to get going?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I just wanted to start off with, a lot of the actors that we've talked to, have been, from all over the United States. And I'm just curious with you, growing up in LA, kind of being in Hollywood around that area. Just curious, is that something that drew you to, start, your acting career?
Well, first off, before we even start, I have to say that, I've done a lot of interviews in the past, but I have to say this is my first ever podcast.
Wow.
So you were my inaugural podcast recording.
Thank
you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know that maybe in an unconscious way. I can't say that it was necessarily a conscious thing. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs outside of LA, and so obviously the proximity, you feel something, in terms of the general industry, the general business. But I think it was more about just being obsessed with cinema as a kid. I just was, exposed to a lot of movies early on, and it just spoke to me. And so I just had a love, deep love from an early age of the medium. When I started doing theater at the same time, like in high school and college, it all sort of was a general love of the arts and of storytelling in general. But it really, really started with a deep love of movies.
Yeah, so, was there anyone, specific that you kind of looked up to or idolized, going through, your young days before you got to college and, really, tried to take off your career?
In terms of like a well-known person,
or just any, actors that, you kind of looked up to?
Well, I mean, probably not unlike a lot of people, though it's not maybe the sexiest thing to say to the average listener, but my dad, really, because he was a performer, but once my brother and I were born, wasn't really doing it anymore. But really early on, I learned almost everything through him and through sort of an osmosis of him and working with him and rehearsing with him, because I didn't early on really have any formal training. I started working early, but it was all through sort of absorption from both everything I gleaned from him and watching more than 10,000 hours of movies. And so there was that, and then there was all the movies I loved and the actors in them, that I was growing up with, and when I think about movies, it wasn't until I went to college back east in Connecticut. I went to Wesleyan University, and I studied film there, in this department, which, though a smaller liberal arts, kind of Ivy League-esque school, so many people have come out of that school and come out of that program. Everyone from like Michael Bay to John Turteltaub to Akiva's Goldsman and all of these guys. Lin-Manuel Miranda, went to Wesleyan at the same time as me, all these guys. So it's a really like amazing kind of artistic pot of creativity that's going on there. But the movies that I really got exposed to a ton when I was studying film there, from the beginning of movies up to now. But as a kid, it was I feel like I'm kind of bouncing around here, but I feel like I have this theory that I feel like and again, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I have this feeling that like the movies, I think it goes with anything, music, movies, probably most art, but like in terms of movies, I feel like there's like a window between the ages of like 5 and 16, 17, where the movies that you see in that window of your life are the ones that like really capture your imagination, take hold in you, inspire you, like kind of open up your mind to what's possible with movies. And I'm willing to bet that like 99% of people, their favorite movie of all time probably comes from seeing a movie during that window of your life. Which isn't to say you can't appreciate and love movies, as you go on. But I feel like the ones that you return to that really like stir that emotional thing in you are probably the things you saw during that window. And the thing is that they can be movies that came out when that were new in that period, or just older films that you saw or were exposed to in that period. But either way, it's about like that window of your life. I remember, of course I remember seeing as a kid things like Back to the Future, and I rewatched The Karate Kid just recently with my wife, who had never seen it.
Wow, yeah.
And it's amazing, Kyle, because like I saw that movie with her, and it's you forget because it was such a cultural touchstone. Yeah. But it's a real movie, and the performances in it, like specifically Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita, are incredible. And you kind of write it off in a certain way as kind of like, kind of a kid's movie from 30 years ago. But when you see it, it's like a real movie. And I remember it when I was a kid. So like seeing Ralph Macchio, seeing like him as a kid, and seeing that Michael J. Fox. And I remember when I was in 7th, 8th grade, that the summer after one of those years, I saw Point Break. Okay. And that took hold in my imagination. Like all these things that are like real pop culture things, but
hold more of a sentimental value to you, probably.
Oh yeah. And like seeing Keanu Reeves and seeing Michael J. Fox, and seeing things like The Goonies and all those things where I saw kids, or seeing Eddie Furlong in Terminator 2, who was like 12 when I was 12. I mean, you see that up on the screen, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to be a part of this world. Like I was obsessed with the way those stories were told and what was possible. And so it all stirred that thing in me, and it ignited that spark in me when I was 8, 9 years old. Yeah. And so, anyway, I'm going on and on, but I just like, it all sort of inspired me to like, and this is long before YouTube or anything digital or any, any kind of computer-based editing system. But I was picking up the camera when I was a kid, and I was that kid who was wrangling all the kids from the neighborhood and shooting movies when I was, 8, 9 years old. Wow. And cutting them on a, like, reel-to-reel, like from VCR to VCR, and then from like reel to reel in those linear video editing systems. So anyway, that's a mishmash of like a lot of like sort of some of the things that I remember really igniting that spark when I was young.
Yeah, so just going through that, you mentioned you've had a passion for it for a while, but getting to college, I mean, going to school, for film, to kind of spark your acting career. How did that kind of help you, progress your skills and, take you to the next level of eventually, getting roles on different TV shows and movies?
Like what about my studies?
How did it help you? Yeah, go through it.
Well, like I was just saying, like, Wesleyan's it was a really special place. And it was, what made it so special was a combination of both, the program there, it was headed by this woman named Janine Basinger, who's the matriarch of this department that she built from nothing, but also just the tier of people that were there. And so when you're in the that college bubble, it's kind of like a laboratory of creativity. And I don't know, it was a combination of the movies and the stuff I was exposed to by being in the program, and then just the constant doing with the people and other artists, and students that were there. But because there was also a focus on the doing, like I was constantly performing in shows and directing shows, and then it all culminated in me directing my senior thesis film when I was a senior. Yeah. And there were, a handful of people that went on to direct thesis films. And at the time, it's crazy because it wasn't that long ago. But when I describe what the process was like, it's going to sound ancient.
Yeah.
but I shot on film. Like I shot on 16, and I cut that film by hand on a flatbed. And I bet you, people listening don't even really know what that is. But it's the way every movie was cut before nonlinear, Avid, the nonlinear digital editing system. It was literally a table where there's reel to reel, and the work print is threaded through, and it's projected on a little screen, and you got a little knob, and you're shuttling through. And when you make a cut, you literally take a blade and you cut the film. Yeah. And you hang it up on your little trim bin, and then you tape it back together, and that's your edit. Wow. And so you can imagine, the arduous process, just, insanely long, arduous process that is. But I think you learn how to think about cutting. You learn to think about how movies work and how you put it together and what works. And the constant repetition of that process and, being in an environment with other, top quality artists, everyone that I was in school with has gone on to do stuff in different pathways. But so anyway, to finish the story is that so I directed that film, and while I was in college, while I was there, I ended up working in the camera department as the lowest level on the totem pole on this movie called Wild Wild West, which was that Will Smith, Kevin Kline, Barry Sonnenfeld joint, which turned out to be a little bit of a underwhelming picture, but the experience of working on it when I was 18, 19 years old, working on the biggest of the big and being right there in the camera department, I learned everything. I just absorbed everything. The camera operator on that show became a mentor to me, and he took me under his wing, and I met a ton of people, and I just learned a ton. And so when I went back to direct my film, he ended up being my DP, and I was directing it, and I ended up playing the lead in it. And so,
awesome.
long story short, I made that film, and when I got back to LA, that movie got seen a little bit and got me picked up by the manager and then the agents that I had at the time, and then I started to work. So it was really kind of a little bit of a calling card for me at the very, very beginning of my career that kind of got me going.
Yeah.
I didn't intend for it to be that, but it ended up being that.
Yeah, so, just going through the process, after graduating, having to go to different auditions and, try out for different roles. I mean, was that a tough process for you going through that? Were there some ups and downs that eventually, got you some of your, roles before Entourage, or, was it kind of a smooth process for you?
No, I think it wasn't. I can't speak for other actors. I'm sure there are certain actors who back into things. And,
everyone's got their own.
At their first audition, and bam. But no, it's there's a ton of ups and downs, and mostly downs at the very beginning because I don't have to tell you, there is no one route. It's not a straight line. It's not law or medicine or professions like that where it's way more of a straight line. If you do X, then you
cookie
go,
cutter plan,
Y, and then you go to Z, and if you accomplish those things, you're going to be moving to the next thing. And there's a very direct path. In movies and television and the arts in general, there's no guarantee of anything, and there's no right way to guarantee anything. And so at the beginning, a lot of it is also just figuring out where to go, what direction to go, how to get started, what you need to do to get you to where you want to go, because there's no playbook. There's playbooks that other people have for themselves, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to you. And so part of the challenge at the beginning for all actors is like figuring out what their playbook is going to be, what their pathway is going to be. And I went through that process just the same. So I was figuring out how I was going to get from, A to B. And again, like it started with me, signing with that manager and starting to, audition for things. And, and there was a lot at the very beginning, and there's a lot of stuff happening at the very beginning, and then it cools down, and then you get hot again, and then it cools down, and you just keep kind of plugging and grinding away. And for me, like, there were jobs here and there, and then I was starting to get like these big auditions and these big opportunities and all these kinds of things, but then it slowed down again, and I just kept grinding it out, while simultaneously for me, like, what also kept me kind of creatively and artistically fulfilled was I became a member of this theater company, and I was constantly where we were just doing like classic and contemporary American plays, and so I was always performing. I was always working, and it was a company of all these like wonderful actors and a bunch of celebrities and that kind of stuff. And so I found myself on stage with these really seasoned, veteran, respected actors who I could just work with and absorb from. And so constantly working out, constantly flexing those muscles, constantly performing, kept me both nimble but also creatively fulfilled. And I did that until the audition for Entourage came, and went from there.
Yeah, I just wanted to, speak about Entourage, getting that role, as one of the, main characters, especially earlier on. I mean, did you ever think, once auditioning for that and, getting the role, that it would be as big as it, turned out to be?
No. Like, zero idea. And part of the reason for that is because when I auditioned for it, it was for it was the first season, but it was before the show had even started airing.
Yeah.
So I was going to read for the show. I didn't know what it was. Nobody knew what it was, because it hadn't even started airing yet. There were 8 episodes in the very first season, and I started on episode 6 of that first season. So the show hadn't started airing. Nobody knew what it was, and it was sort of like inside, kind of Hollywood thing. But I didn't have even the script for the episode. I just had the scenes. Most of the time in television, almost all of the time in television, unless you're reading for a pilot, one of the leads of a pilot, or even guesting on a pilot, where you'll get this, you'll have the possibility of getting the script. 99% of the time, if you're going in to read for one episode or even like a few episodes as a recurring character, you don't get the whole script. You just get them. You just get the sides. You just get the material. So you have to sort of extrapolate and figure out, both through your own research if the show's already on, or just a sort of your instincts and what you can sort of detect from the material, like what the world is like and what the tone of the show is like. So all of that is what I had to do initially with Entourage. But no, I had no idea. And to be completely honest with you, it was only supposed to be for one episode.
Okay, yeah, that was good. I was going to ask you that. How long did you think? Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so, I mean, first off, like, if you couldn't already tell, like, that show, I'm really, really cognizant of the fact that, like, how important that show was, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it, and to have been a part of it in the way that it was, because it's so special and so rare that a show becomes a kind of like cultural touchstone, like the way that it did, and this thing that's lived on, that people
still to this
like,
day watch,
people like, all the time come up to me and quote my lines back at me, and like, that's not lost on me. Like, the fact that people were that touched or entertained or into stuff I did, my performance, my work, like I think that's the greatest. They can never take that for granted. And so to get to be a part of a show that like had a world and characters that people were that sort of into and obsessed with, it's really special. And so I'm fully aware of that, and that's why it's so cool, and sort of like a bigger lesson about acting in general and the way the business works is that you never know. You never know what that one role is going to do, or where that one performance can take you. You don't know. You're like. It's another reminder as to why I always take the work. I take the work really seriously and try not to take myself too seriously. But I always want to be at the top of my game, because you never know which thing is going to hit, or which thing is going to break through, which thing is going to like click with people. And that was one of the early ones for me. And because of how it went, they loved it so much. And Doug Ellen, the creator of the show, he ended up writing me into the next episode, and then into the second season, and then it blossomed from there. And then it became a character that was a character people knew and really loved, and loved the stuff between Jeremy Piven and I, and all of that rivalry. And it became like a part of the show in a way that was really special. It's really fun.
So, talking about, Jeremy Piven, Kevin Connolly, all those, actors on Entourage, I'm just curious, playing off of them, on your scene specifically, Jeremy Piven, how did that go for you? I mean, did you kind of, feel that, spark of connection that you guys could, bounce off of each other and play, kind of a good cop, bad cop guy?
Yeah, I mean, initially for the first couple of seasons, I was actually mostly working with Kevin Dillon, because in the plot of the show,
drama.
His
agent,
Yeah, because I became his agent, and so I was his agent through the first couple of seasons until I, in the narrative of the show, backstab, Jeremy Piven's character Ari and get him, fired from the agency and that whole thing, and then it started this rivalry between he and I. But I think, it always depends on the actor. I mean, every actor is different, and you find your rhythm and your vibe with them in different ways, and everyone kind of has a different energy and a different thing that they bring to their work. And so with Kevin was Dylan was, he was just easy and fun and cool and just really generous, because he was one of the stars of the show, and I was coming on initially guesting, and then into this larger recurring thing. But he just was welcoming and generous to me from the first minute, and that means a lot, because you're dropping in, and you gotta, in a lot of ways, coming into a show that's already established is in a lot of ways a bigger challenge, because you got to drop into that world and be operating in that world without having all the lead up to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so having an actor to kind of welcome you into that and be an equal partner in that way is always the best. So he had his thing, and Jeremy's a different kind of actor with a different kind of energy and a different kind of momentum, and it was a different relationship in the show, and so it was this faster, more adversarial kind of thing, and for me, we had a thing, and he was just, he's an actor with a lot of force, and
very
unique,
power.
And so you just, part of what's exciting as a performer is to feed off of that and match that and play with that, and you discover what the thing's going to be, to try to, you're always trying to make it the most interesting, the most hot, the most kind of electric that you can. And so it's just about matching it and listening and playing off of it, and ultimately just trying to make the scenes the best they can be.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you, talking about, coming on to, an established show already. You've been on a lot of different shows where, you've had guest roles and, guest starred in. I'm just curious, coming into that, is it kind of, get butterflies in your stomach almost that, walking onto a set where, you have to perform and, you have to come into this new environment that, all the other characters around you already have established?
Butterflies, not in a nervous way, but in a like anticipatory, exciting way. You're right. Like at this, at this point in my career and the spectrum of work that I've done, it's not like oh gosh, it's just like it's a new
challenge,
new world. Yeah, it's a new thing to explore. It's kind of like one of the best parts of the job, which is it's always changing and it's always different and you're always with new people and then you become really close and intimate really quickly because you have to.
Yeah.
Because the scenes and the work depends upon it. On movies when you have like a longer thing. If you're not one of the, series regulars on a show and you're there for a season or multiple years, that's a whole different level. But on movies you have, a couple months or so, often less, to just become a family and find it. But you have to get really intimate really quickly because that's what's going to make the stuff pop. So I love the aspect that it's always changing, that's always a new world and a new group of people, and also you get to live all these different lives. I'm playing all these different roles, and I get dropped into all these different worlds, and there's something really exciting and electric about that. And so, I just, and then you find your groove, and you have to work quickly, but you find that groove, and it's great,
Yeah. So, just go
ahead.
Oh, no. If you had something to say, I was just going to ask you, after Entourage, your career, kind of, went further on, with different movies and, different TV roles. I'm just curious, are you kind of grateful that, Entourage kind of kickstarted, something bigger for your career that, opened up new doors?
Oh, I mean, it'd be silly for me to say that I wasn't. Of course, man. I mean, whatever, if you enjoy, performing, if you enjoy working, enjoy, making movies, making television, I mean, you always are both really into the work at the time, and then you're really grateful when that work propels you to the next thing, because it really is always about that. Whatever the work you're doing now is going to kind of propel you to the next thing and the next thing. And you're always looking for interesting stuff, and you're always looking for ways to stretch and grow, and not necessarily just do the same thing over and over and over again. But at the same time, it's great to be working, and work begets work. But yeah, of course I am. I'm incredibly grateful to Doug Ellen and originally at that time, Larry Charles, who was writing on the show, and this guy Rob Weiss and Steve Levitan, all those guys who gave me that stuff very early on in my career and allowed me to do what I do. Yeah, it opened up a ton of doors for me, mostly because at the time, there was no streaming. And HBO was like the game in town. The prestige of HBO was like a really big deal. And then to be on a hit show on that prestigious network was a big deal. And then to be on a show in all those capacities that everyone in the industry was watching. It was a really important thing to opening up a lot of other doors for me.
Yeah, I mean, did you see, more roles, offers come in as, you got on Entourage and, being on 6 different seasons? I mean, did you see the offers come in a little bit faster for you?
Totally. That's just a consequence of people seeing you and seeing you work and getting to know you and associating you with with that level of work. It's true, for probably almost anybody gets to be a part of something, does good work in something that like is really seen.
Yeah.
And so that for me, that was the start of it. So people, like I said, most everybody in town, but by that I mean like in Hollywood, was watching the show. In addition to like people all over the rest of the country, because it was a kind of voyeuristic window into what was going on in Hollywood. So people were interested in the middle of the country and back east, but also in Hollywood, they were looking at it as a reflection of themselves, and a satirical reflection of themselves. So it was fun for them to watch. But as a consequence, they saw my work, and so when people get to know you, then they're interested. Yeah. So I definitely felt that in the wake of those seasons.
Yeah, just stepping away from the TV, side of your career, going into movies later on in your career, like American Curious, and, being in Snow Bride, just how did you transfer, your acting skills, from going from the TV scene to the movie scene? Was it a tough transition for you, or did you find that, it was just kind of a different, adventure like you were talking about before, you kind of just took on the new role?
Probably the latter. Although the irony of your question is that I'm not the first person to say this, but like the irony is that we're at like kind of a weird transition inflection point with everything, because how people are consuming media, how people are consuming entertainment is changing like by the second. And weirdly, I don't know if you feel this, but like I feel like, and this is just kind of like me riffing, but like, I feel like it wasn't that long ago that like when you talked to people about stuff they had seen, it was always like, did you see this movie? Did you see that movie? Did you see this movie? And I feel like nobody does that anymore. It's all about what show you're plowing through, what season you are on of X show or what show. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just an interesting thing that like, I don't feel like people talk about movies in the same way that they did even 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's just about like whatever new show is the kind of water cooler thing. And so ironically, like, it wasn't that long ago that there was like a really specific delineation between, movie actors and TV actors and that sort of hierarchy. But, it still exists. The Oscars are still the Oscars, but I don't have to explain to you or your listeners that like the biggest stars in the world are doing prestige television. Yeah. And it's all kind of melding together. It's all kind of blurring together. And like stars for movies are coming out of TV, not the other way around. It's happening in both directions. And so I don't know, to answer your question, it's like, it's funny that you're asking about the transition to movies, whereas I feel like it's not even applicable anymore, because television now is like just as cinematic as things in in the theater. I remember when I was younger, I don't know if you like it was like this as you were growing up as much, but like I remember very specifically when I was younger that what dominated the landscape of television was the half-hour multi-camera sitcom. Yeah,
sitcoms are definitely huge.
Yeah, sitcoms. It was like all that TGIF stuff and the Full Houses and the Family Matters and the Family Ties and Growing Pains and like Cosby shows and like all, and like even into the into Friends.
Yeah, King of Queens.
In the 90s, like it was like television was like in my mind as a kid. It was like the multicam sitcom, laugh track, or live studio audience thing, and then which is in a way a lot more like live theater, kind of multiple sets, proscenium stage, live audience, kind of situational stuff. So that was television, and then I went to the movies to get things that were really cinematic. And I think about that now, and I'm like, there are things on television that are more cinematic than what you can get in the theater sometimes, or most of the time. And so it's all blurred together, and I don't feel like there's like that big a transition anymore to go from television to movies, because you're making movies when you're doing some of these TV shows. And I felt that, to bring it back around, I felt that with Entourage.
Wow, really?
Way back. Yeah, because
any specific thing that made you think that?
Yeah, people would ask me all the time, like, what's it like? And I'm like, it's like making a movie every week, because it's a single camera. It's shot like a movie. but when I say single camera, that's what I mean. It's a single camera show. And most specifically, like, there were not really any sets. I mean, eventually, like, a couple seasons in, some sets were built, the agency and things like that. But, like, in, like, the first multiple seasons, the agency was, like, on location, downtown LA, in these office buildings. Everything was, like, locations. There were, like, multiple company moves a day. Everything was, like, on the streets, walking, following, like, being along for the ride with the guys as they, like, walked the streets of Hollywood and went to Earth Cafe and went to this thing, and then they're at the house, and, like, they were all real locations, and so it didn't feel like this kind of manufactured thing on a studio set. It was like movie making on the streets, and so it really felt like that. When I don't know if you remember, there was an episode I did. It was like a really big episode for my character. That most of the episode was just Ari and my character Adam Davies, like, going at it, like, head to head, and it started with a street race between him and his convertible Ferrari and me and my convertible Porsche. Yeah, like, we shot that for real.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like, I was driving, he was driving. We were not being towed. We were, like, shooting that on the streets in LA for real, and, like, playing the scene, because in the scene, for anybody who hasn't seen it, like, my character Adam and his character Ari are, like, yelling at each other as they're driving next to each other, racing, and, like, we're going back and forth, but, like, we're driving for real. We're, like, trying to maintain a very specific physical relationship with the cars, because the cameraman's in his passenger seat shooting across him onto me, and then on top of that, we're doing the scene, and so, like, it was real. We were really doing it, and I think it's, to pat ourselves on the back for a second. Like, I think it was sort of a testament to what we were able to pull off, but also a testament to the show. And I think that when you watch the show, you feel that. You feel the difference. That, like, it feels like it's a little edgier, a little grittier, a little bit more, oomph, because we're really doing it. So, yeah. So, like, this is such a long-winded answer, but, like, in a lot of ways, I didn't feel like there was, like, a massive transition, because I felt like I had the opportunity to be in movie-making mode, even when I was doing, television like that.
Yeah, just to get back to your question, to me about, the difference between, talking about now, I'm just thinking, as you were talking, specifically with, the TV shows that have been going on now, different streaming services, I think the streaming aspect of, TV has definitely helped, kind of revitalize it, against movies. And I can agree with you that, TV shows are definitely more prominent now with the streaming services that are available.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, how often do you like, personally, like, go out to the movies?
Not once or twice a year. I mean, unless it's a big movie.
Once or twice a year?
Yeah. I'm more of a TV person myself.
Yeah, but when did that happen? It wasn't always that way, was it?
No, when I was younger, I would go, every, couple times a month.
Yeah. It was, like, the only way you could get stuff. It's just, like, it changed the access that you have, the amount of content that you can get. I mean, between YouTube and streaming, like, it's like you don't
mostly have everything on your laptop or TV or phone.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There are certain things that I don't know. Did you go see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I did not. I didn't hear too very well fond stuff of it, so I didn't get to see it yet.
Fair enough, but
did you go and see it, or?
I did, and part of the reason is that, like, there are a handful of, like, auteur filmmakers, of which Quentin Tarantino is one, who care about the theatrical experience and care about making movies for that communal environment, like that communal experience, theatrical experience, and make movies to be seen, on the big screen. Because, I mean, it's my personal feeling, and maybe this will just kind of, become outdated at a certain point, but, like, I still believe that movies are supposed to be bigger than you.
Yeah.
Like, they're supposed to be larger than life. They are larger than life. And I feel like that's physically represented in like the screen enveloping you, being bigger than you. That it's supposed to. The part of the magic to me is that it's larger than life. And so there are a handful of like auteur filmmakers that are real, guys that care about that experience. The Tarantinos and Spielbergs and Christopher Nolan, and those guys care about making movies for the big screen, and they're still shooting on film. And I was one of those people that went to see The Hateful Eight, even though not a lot of people seem to like that movie either. But like, I went and made a point of seeing it in 70 millimeter in the Dome here in LA. Like, I still want to experience those guys' movies, in the way that they intend. So I still will go, but I totally recognize that at a certain point, like, people are just going to consume stuff on their screens at home.
Yeah.
Stream it.
I mean, those older, generation type guys, talking about, producers and directors. I mean, is there a different sense of, pride that, you felt with them, when they make a movie that, they take extra, enjoyment and, take more pride into, doing the film that makes you, more drawn to go see it?
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, all those guys I just named, they talk a lot about the medium itself and the art form and the fact that there's something, important about experiencing movies that way. I mean, I think for all the reasons I talked about with, it's being larger than life, but also like you can only see a movie for the first time once.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it's a special movie, if it's like an important movie, cinematically or for any other reason, like, you can only see it for the first time once. And I feel like the majority of the time, your initial emotional reaction to it is the truest. Or it's like the reaction that
your
you have
first reaction,
is the most emotional, like at your gut level, and you can only have that experience once. And so, not to sound too pretentious or precious about it, but like, I'm really protective of that experience for myself because I really feel that about the first time. And so if it's a movie that like is made by somebody that I think is an important director, important filmmaker, I want to see it in the best way possible that first time. So I went, 10 years ago to make sure I saw Avatar in 3D, and like most everybody else, like I want to do that because I care about that. Now I know that there's like a ton of people who don't care about that, and they'll watch movies, on the subway on their phone or whatever. But I think it just depends on what you're interested in and what you hold dear. And for me, I hold movies dear to my heart, and so I care about those kinds of experiences.
Yeah. I'm just curious, before we continue for a little bit longer, if you have time, just, did you like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Did you, enjoy the movie?
It's funny, like, in terms of, like, the irony of what I just said, is that I liked the movie more as time went on after I saw it. Okay. Like, my interest in it and appreciation of it grew, because my initial reaction wasn't completely satisfied. Okay. But the more it like, but it's a testament to the movie because it sat in my brain.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
It kept rattling around. I kept thinking about it, and new things revealed itself as I reflected on it, and why he did what he did, and why it's special, and what the meaning of it is. At the very, very least, I mean, the thing about Quentin Tarantino, and I know there's been like a million think pieces in the past couple of weeks, as this new movie's come out, so I'm not going to say anything that's going to be probably, hasn't been said, or written about in the past. But the minimum what I was going to say is that I think if people are hypercritical of him or his movie, it's only because he's so special that he's held to a different standard.
Yeah, the expectations are higher.
Yeah, expectations are higher, but also because we know that these guys are filmmakers, the standards we hold them to are just higher, and so people are maybe a little bit more critical here or there. But you always know, like, that when you're watching a Tarantino movie, and I don't know if you feel this, but, like, I never doubt as an audience member that I'm in the hands of somebody who's in control.
Yeah.
I always feel that. And I feel like even if you don't know where it's going, you need to believe as an audience member that the filmmaker knows where it's going and why he's doing what he's doing. And I feel like as an audience member, as the experience, that I always feel like I'm in the hands of somebody who knows why he's doing what he's doing, and that it will pay off, and that even if he holds on something forever, you know, it's for a reason, you know. And like everyone probably has a reference point of like the opening of Inglourious Bastards. I mean, that opening scene is like 20 minutes of the movie. It's like a really long scene, but the heightening of the tension and the suspense. She's under the floor, and that scene, and Christoph Waltz is doing his thing, and the way he plays that stuff and the way he directs that stuff, I just, that to me embodies like somebody who's just in control. And so at the very, very least, regardless of how you feel about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that's very clear that he's in control. And ironically, I kind of feel like it's Brad Pitt's movie.
Yeah, that's what I've heard so far.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, continue, with talking about, some of the stuff you're doing now, which, you just, last year were on Chicago Fire for a few episodes, and then, being on All American still as the principal. I'm just curious, anything else that, people should be watching out for that, you're doing currently?
No, I mean, All American is what I'm doing currently. And I'm hoping people get a chance to see, you mentioned that film, American Curious.
Yeah.
That film is really, really, really special to me. And so I'm hoping people can get a chance to see that like there's an American release very soon. And just to fill anybody in on it, like it's a movie, it's a foreign film of which I'm the lead. And I'm the only. It's a Mexican film. I shot it in Mexico City, entirely like Mexican writer director, entirely Mexican crew, entirely Mexican cast, except for me. And I'm the lead of the movie. And so it's a really different, unique situation where foreign film with an American lead, and the movie is mostly in Spanish. It has subtitles, but also a little bit in English. And it's such a unique, just personally, like really rare opportunity as an American actor to go be the lead of a foreign language film. And I'm speaking Spanish through most of the movie. And as an American actor, you almost never get that opportunity. There's a lot of foreign actors who come to the United States and make movies in English when English is their second language, but the reverse is almost never true. And so I got that chance, and I lived it, and I lived in Mexico City, and it's about this, American guy who's always known he's adopted, but he learns that the biological mother that he never knew has just passed away, and she's left him her restaurant. But more specifically, he learns that his biological mother was Mexican. So he's sort of simultaneously learning, wait a minute, I'm Mexican. So goes down to Mexico City to deal with now owning this restaurant, and this kind of journey towards identity and the love story that ensues, and that whole experience. And I got to really live it. Like I just, my experience, going to Mexico City for the first time and living there, and the character David, his journey, they're really like, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So it's a really soulful movie. I think it's a really transcendent movie, and Mexican audiences and American audiences on both sides of the border will both respond to the movie, and I think it's a testament to what the movie's about and what the soul of the movie is in terms of, about the common humanity and kind of breaking down those walls and finding that common connection. So it's a really special movie to me, and it's one of my favorite performances. that I've ever given. So I hope people are able to see that. So that I did this upcoming movie called Foster Boy, with Matthew Modine, who maybe younger audiences now know from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
He plays Papa in Stranger Things, but I first started watching when I was younger on Full Metal Jacket. I don't know if you how well you remember Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
You ever seen it?
I personally have not. No.
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 It's a biggie. You should try Stanley Kubrick. War movie. From about 30 years ago, but Matthew's the star of it. And that's really what where his career really blew up. It's a young Vincent D'Onofrio. It's a really special
maybe I'll
one.
check it out. Yeah.
But a lot of great actors in this movie. It's it's about the foster care system, and it's a kind of law. It's kind of like a courtroom drama, and so that's coming up, and continuing to work on All American. And there's a few scripts I'm actually developing with my wife, who's a writer.
Wow.
We met on a movie of which she was the screenwriter, and so there are things that we're working on together, and so all of that's swirling around. And I just finished doing a play a couple of months ago, because as I mentioned, it's like good for my artistic soul.
Yeah.
And so it's been busy and good.
I just wanted to ask you, just because you mentioned, the experience of being in Mexico City, kind of being, the only American there. I mean, was it a tough transition for you, or, something that, you found unique and, kind of, hold extra special to yourself that you, went through that experience? I mean, how did it go for you, even offset?
Oh, I mean, yes, it was incredibly special. Was it a tough transition? I don't know that it was a tough transition.
Just a new experience for you, like you mentioned before?
Yeah, because the thing that's special about it, which I think is a really valuable life thing for anybody to do, which is there's nothing you learn about a lot about yourself, and what you're capable of when you don't have any other option. And by that I mean, like, if you're just like a stranger in a strange land, and people speak a different language, like, you figure it out. You figure out what you need to do to live and get by,
survive,
and communicate, and connect with people. And you're capable of so much more than you think. And there's nothing like being put in a position, whether it's like complete immersion like that, where you're just in a foreign country and, in a language that you don't necessarily isn't your native tongue, or you're in an outward bound wilderness situation where it's a survival thing or whatever. I feel like people are way more capable of stuff than they even realize about themselves. And when you put yourself in positions where you're kind of outside that comfort zone and you're forced to like dig deeper, I just think that you learn a lot about yourself and you realize that you're much stronger than you are. And for me, like, this experience was like a version of that, where it's like, holy crap, I'm just like the only American in this, in Mexico City, and I'm making this movie. But everyone was so warm and welcoming, and I had such a beautiful connection with the director of that movie, and we really went down this amazing collaborative process together, that it was something that was almost hard to come back out of, because you get so into it. But so it was, there were challenges about it.
Did you speak the language beforehand, or did you have to learn it as the movie went on?
Both. I mean, I spoke Spanish beforehand, but I wasn't completely fluent. Okay. But when you live in a country and you're working in that language,
you learn it.
You just it leaps and bounds. And it was the first time in my whole career, like on stage, movies, television, that I'd ever played scenes entirely in another language.
Wow.
You think maybe you've had the chance at some point, but when you really think about it, you're like, no, I've never done that, and most people don't get that opportunity. And so I found myself like, at a certain point, you're like, in your head, I don't know if if you speak another language or in the process of like learning the second language, but when you're learning a second language, there's a process where you're kind of like translating in your head in real time, and then there's a point at which you stop doing that and you kind of just start thinking and feeling in that language. The process with performing in that language is analogous because I think at the very beginning I'm like, oh, this scene's in English and this is a Spanish scene, and this is a Spanish scene, this is an English scene. But then at a certain point, I just forgot. And like the scenes weren't Spanish scenes or English scenes; they were just
scenes.
Yeah. And when that happens, it's a really cool switch.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't have to think as much or worry as much. You probably were just kind of more relaxed.
You're just it's not the fact that the scene's in English or Spanish. It's just, what is this scene about?
Yeah.
And that to me is what's so cool about the general kind of soul and theme of the movie, which is at a certain point you stop seeing the difference and you just start feeling what the connection is. Like what connects us as people. Like it's not like whether the scene is in Spanish or English. It's just like, what does this scene say?
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Just how that experience developed your skills and kind of had a different perspective for you and was a unique experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch real quick on All American, just because I personally watched the show, and I'm sure people listening now also might have heard of it or watched the show. Just curious, speaking that it's based on a true story, and that going through the process, you're the principal. I mean, being a true story. I mean, do you even think about that? This is not real life, but someone went through what this TV show is actually going through, or do you just kind of keep that on the back burner?
For me personally, or do you think or are you asking like the writers and
Oh
creators?
no, for you personally. I mean, do you ever think about it, or not too much?
I mean, in the macro, yes, but in the micro, not as much.
Okay.
In the macro, yes, because for those who don't know, like the show is about this kid Spencer, who is from Crenshaw, and he's a football player, and he ends up being recruited to play football at Beverly Hills High School by Taye Diggs' character. And Taye Diggs has a son who's the quarterback on that, and when Spencer comes to Beverly Hills High School, it's the story. There's
little tension between them,
but it's a fish out of water story of like the two communities, and all of a sudden he's in Beverly Hills, and but then there's also racial dynamics at play, and all the and all the plot that kind of converges around some of those ideas. So it's there's multiple levels to the show, and I think that's what really makes it an interesting, worthwhile show. Spencer Pasinger, who the show is based on, who it's his story. He transferred to Beverly Hills High School, and he played there, and he got this opportunity to like get out of where he was, and he ended up making it to the NFL. And it's his. So he played in the NFL a number of seasons, and it's his story. And he's one of the executive producers of the show. And so he's around. I've met him. I've hung with him. And so in that sense, I know the genesis of the story, and I know that this isn't all just like just fictitious, made up stuff. That like it comes from a real place and is based on a real guy who lived this. And so I think that knowing that, in the back of your mind gives a certain sort of gravity to the story that you're telling. So yeah, in that way, yes, because I know he's a real guy, and this is his story, and this is a real thing. But in the micro, like scene to scene, like when we're playing scenes and stuff like that, I don't think about it in that way. I think it's in me unconsciously, but when you're doing moment to moment work, you're thinking about those moments, not necessarily like, oh my God, this is Spencer's story. So I think yes, both are true. Both are true.
Speaking about not worrying about that in every scene, just being Principal Landon in the show. I mean, is it one of more unique characters that you've been a part of? Have you seen the progression go? I mean, how do you feel the character's been so far, even though it's only been one season?
I mean, it's cool.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I enjoy it. Like, I mean, it's not like that there's a lot of story yet. Or, I mean, I certainly hope there could be that revolves around him, but it's it's a much more supporting character. But I still to the point I made earlier, like I don't take that for granted because we all play different roles, like show to show, movie to movie, and in life. And sometimes we're the star, and sometimes we're the support. But either way, like it's not. I feel like it's your function to like support the storytelling in general, and that's what's important to me. And so, in that way, it's totally fulfilling, and I enjoy the show. I enjoy the most specifically the group of people. This woman, Nkechi, NK, we call her. Who's the showrunner, is super cool and really warm, and I really love. And so she creates a really like familial, supportive environment that everyone's working on this together. Tay Diggs and I get along great. A lot of my scenes are with him.
Yeah.
We just enjoy talking and hanging out personally and talking life stuff. So it's just and the rest of the cast is everyone's cool. So it's just a really cool show to be a part of. It's got a point of view. It's different than a lot of things that are currently on the CW.
Yeah.
Which is not a knock on the rest of what's on the CW. I
know it's a unique story. Yeah.
Yeah, most of what's on the CW currently is DC superhero stuff, which is cool. But like Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow and Flash and Supergirl, like there's a lot. So this definitely sticks out a little bit in terms of that stuff. It's coupled with Riverdale. Currently, like it follows Riverdale. So it's different than most of what's on the CW, but I think that's a cool thing. It makes it special.
No, yeah, it's it's definitely cool to watch. So I'm sure you've had great experiences on the set. I just wanted to wrap up with a final question. It's a unique question. I'm sure it's obviously your opinion. Just being on a bunch of different sets on movies, TV, films. Who so far in your career has been your favorite castmate to hang out with off set, and who's been your favorite on set?
Oh man, that is a hard question.
Oh, if you can't think of it, no, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, not at all. I don't say it's a hard question. Like it's not like an interesting question. It's just like I just feel like
I'm sure there's a lot of people popping in your head right now.
There's a ton of people popping in my head, and obviously some of them, like I don't want to do anyone a disservice and forget, like, oh God, because when I'm thinking about, just because of the nature of my career, because I, Entourage and some other shows are the shows that I worked on the longest, but I've also like, recurred and guested on so many different shows that I've had the opportunity to work with so many people, and it's all super cool. It's just the type of career that I've had. But just most recently, like I gotta say that, like I was just talking about, just jumped to the top of my head, like that Matthew Modine was a really like special experience because we worked on this movie for quite a while, and because we were, it also depends a lot of times, the time how the time is that you've spent with people, and by that I mean like the kind of movie that it is could mean that you end up spending, like, say you shoot a movie where you're two cops on a stakeout for a lot of the movie. You're shooting in a car next to each other so you end up like literally spending a lot of time with somebody.
You get to know them.
If that makes sense. Yeah, you get to know them, and if it's a totally different kind of movie, and you're shooting here and there, and you kind of get to work together in a sort of more spotty way, you don't have the time. So like when you're doing a stage play or you're doing a movie, you spend a lot of time with somebody, and you get real close real quick. And just the nature of the film, Matthew and I sat next to each other in the courtroom for a lot of hours and spent a lot of time. And then we went to Chicago and we shot there. He's a very, very interesting, very kind, very thoughtful, very generous guy. And so, we spent some time in Chicago together, and I'm very, personally, I'm very interested in actors that are older than me and who've had these long, storied careers like him, and have worked with people like Stanley Kubrick and, just legends and titans like that. I love hearing people's stories. I eat that up. I love asking questions. I love hearing stories. I love hearing stories about, titans of industry and legendary filmmakers and things like that. And Matthew is just sort of a fountain of those kinds of things. So just recently, he's on my mind in terms of a really fun time, but like beautiful friendship that came out of it. And so he's the first person that popped to mind. I'm trying to think of some other actors or performers that you or your listeners might know of. I'm trying to think. I mean, this is a little different in terms of like favorite person to hang out with, but like I worked with Bruce Willis on this movie called Surrogates. Yeah. This sci-fi movie, Surrogates. And it's not that like we became close friends, but it was an experience that stuck with me because although I don't know what's quite going on with the movies that he's doing now, but he was somebody. What's another cool facet of this profession and the career that I've built and been fortunate enough to have is that he was somebody that I grew up watching, and if you would have told the 10-year-old me that was watching
that you'd get to work with him,
I'd be working opposite him, I don't know if I would have believed you. And then all of a sudden you find yourself, you work really hard, and then you keep your head down and you run really fast, and then you look up and you're like, holy shit, look where I am. And you all of a sudden you're working with somebody that you're up watching, and your peers. You're not you're not looking up at somebody. You're looking right at somebody, and you're all of a sudden two actors who are just trying to make the scene good. And that stuck with me. That and the same thing with Matthew and those kinds of actors. I feel
people that
really
paved the path probably for you.
What's that?
People that probably paved the path to your career that you tried to do.
Totally, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be. There are people that that you watch, that you admire, that inspire you, that spark something in you, get you interested in doing it, or you say, God, I'd like to do that, or I want to build a career like that person. I still want to be me. I want to make it my own. But you get inspired by those people, and then all of a sudden you get to work with those people, and the cycle kind of repeats itself. Just recently, there's actually a younger guy on All American who is really getting his career going, and he's on the show, and he's basically said some of those things to me.
Wow.
And is asking me questions and talking about the sort of arc of my career and in not that dissimilar ways than you're bringing up, and you actually have a moment where you're like, wait a minute, I'm on that side now.
Now people are asking you the questions.
Yeah, people are asking you the questions like, how did you do this, or I'd like to be able to have part of my career go like yours, or and you're so focused on continuing trying to build yourself, and you're always looking ahead going, oh, I'm not here yet, or I'm not there, I want to be whatever you're doing, you're like, I want the next step, I want to be on the next thing, that you almost forget that people that are coming up behind you are looking at you going, wow, I want to be where you are. And I was incredibly flattered and really touched, and it's kind of just a moment where you kind of stop and look around and go, oh wow, now I'm getting to a point where someone would be asking me this stuff and marveling at some of the things that I've got to do. And that's a really interesting kind of reflective moment of where you are in your career and life, and it's nice, and it's another reason to be grateful.
No, yeah, I'm sure that, that's an interesting experience, being in kind of the middle where, you're trying to elevate your career, but, people are trying to also, elevate their careers by asking you questions. So, it's definitely probably a unique experience for you.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. It's just a moment where you like look around and see where you are.
Almost like a reality check, kind of.
Yeah, but in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. Way. Yeah. So, I just wanted to, thank you for coming on. It was awesome getting to talk to you, for a little bit, hearing your experiences and, hearing, how, kind of you built your career, what you're looking forward to, and the rest of your career going. So, we wish you the best of luck with American Curious, All American, the stuff that, we hope to see you do in the future. And, we hope that, you one day look back and, realize that, you did a great job and, that you fulfilled your dreams.
Kyle, thanks so much, man. It's been my pleasure. By the way, it just popped into my head. You were talking about some of those projects. There's another movie that, if people were interested, that's like available. That is another movie that I really love, that I star in. That I think is a really cool thriller. If people are, into that, that's available right now on Amazon. It's called The Millionaire Tour, and I did it a few years ago. But I think it's really cool, and it also stars Dominic Monaghan, which people know from Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yeah.
And Lost. He played this character Charlie on Lost. People know him, but he's also one of the other stars of it. It's a really cool thriller, and it's now on Amazon. And I think people would dig it if they're interested in checking out something right now. And All Americans is now on Netflix, so that's there.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I hope people check it out. So thanks for just coming on. And we wish you the best. Hope to talk soon. And we can't wait to see some of the work that you've been doing. Come out.
My pleasure, Kyle. Thanks again, man.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye. Yeah, so that was Jordan Belfi from, a lot of different films, including Entourage, being an All-American right now, and, just being in a lot of different films and TV shows like Hawaii Five-0, Chicago Fire, and, just being in, different parts of the world, talking about American Curious, being in that movie, being down in Mexico, and, kind of just doing a lot of different cool, things for himself, things for, people that look forward to, All American, Entourage, stuff like that. So, it's someone that you can resonate with, that, it's awesome to hear, his career path, how he's humbled himself throughout his whole career, the success that he's had. So, we wish him the best. He's been in a bunch of different TV shows on recurring roles, movies that he starred in. Definitely check out, American Curious, which he stars in, coming out soon. And definitely check out, as he mentioned just a few moments ago, The Millionaire Tour, which, he stars in. Came out in 2012. It's on Amazon, as he mentioned. All Americans on Netflix right now. So he's in a lot of cool stuff. Definitely check out Entourage if you haven't seen it. It's one of my favorite shows. And, Adam's in it. He plays Adam Davies in it. So, being Adam in that's definitely cool for him, I'm sure. Just thank you for listening. We know it was a cool, little podcast for us to, get to talk to one of, actors in Hollywood specifically. One of my favorite actors, just because, being on so many of the shows I like Entourage, Chicago Fire, Hawaii Five-0, and, definitely going to check out, some of his movies like The Millionaire Tour, and just some of the other stuff that he's done. I personally watched All American also, so, it's great to be able to, talk to someone that, kind of resonates with you, multiple different characters in your head kind of pop in my head when I think of Jordan. So, it was great to talk to him, thinking about him in a lot of different roles that I've seen and that I look forward to seeing in the future. So, thanks for listening to me and Jordan, have our conversation about his career, his career path, how he got it started. And, thank you for watching, listening, and have a great day.